This happened about 5 years ago when I was in grad school, living in the top floor apartment of an old, crumbling Victorian house. My landlord, Mr. Thorne, lived on the first floor. The place was cheap, and every time the wind blew, the house groaned like an old man being woken up too early. I wrote off a lot of the initial weirdness as old house settling, but it quickly got personal. It started with small things moving. I'm a creature of habit. I'd leave my keys on the counter, and in the morning, they'd be under the rug. My water bottle, left on the nightstand, would be on the floor. Nothing was ever stolen. Nothing was broken. Just relocated. Then came the food. I swore I was sleep eating, because the plastic wrap on my cheese and butter would be disturbed, with small, precise chunks missing. I started covering everything with tin foil, but the attacks continued, leaving faint indentations. The worst was the temperature. I'd set the heat to 70 degrees Fahrenheit before bed, and I'd wake up shivering. The thermostat cranked down to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I always put it back, but it happened 3 nights in a row. It felt like someone was trying to manage the apartment's resources for their own comfort, not mine. Then the sounds began. It was a slow, deliberate scratching coming from the wall by the central chimney stack, always between 3 o'clock and 3:30 a.m. It wasn't the frantic scurry of a mouse. It sounded like dry fingernails dragging slowly down brick. One night, terrified, I tapped the wall hard with my fist. The scratching stopped immediately. Complete silence. It felt like a conversation, a challenge I had just lost. A few nights later, I woke up, not to noise, but to a feeling. I felt a slight, cold draft on the back of my neck and a distinct, musty odor, like wet earth and old linen. I sat bolt upright. My heart was pounding. I checked the locks 3 times. Everything was secure, but I knew deep down that whatever it was, it had been right behind me. I had to find it. I searched every inch of my apartment again and again, finally focusing on the wall where the scratching came from. There was an old utility cupboard tucked into an alcove. Behind some dusty holiday decorations, I found it, a small wooden access panel screwed into the wall. The screws were old and covered in paint. It took me 20 minutes to get them out. When I shone my phone light into the dark cavity, my blood went cold. This was no chimney flue. It was a narrow, vertical void between the inner wall and the brickwork, descending into the building's foundation. Nailing into the brick were crude, makeshift wooden rungs, a ladder. I climbed down a few feet, almost throwing up from the smell. The space opened up into a crawl space below the first floor. There, tucked against the chimney base, was a nest, a pile of old insulation, moth-eaten towels, and plastic bags. But the things inside the nest, that's what broke me. My missing keys. The empty container of melatonin I thought I had finished weeks ago. They were waiting for me to sleep deeply. A stack of my mail. Dozens of tiny, sharpened bones. And finally a small, worn leather journal. I snatched the journal and flipped it open. On one page, written in erratic, childish handwriting, was this sentence underlined 3 times. He knows what a good tenant looks like. He just needs to learn how to be quiet for me. That's when I heard it. A distinct floorboard creak, directly above me. Not my floor. The first floor. Mr. Thorne's floor. I looked up at the shaft. The first floor access panel was barely visible, slightly ajar, casting a thin slit of light. In that light, I saw it, a single, pale, bloodshot eye looking straight down at me. I scrambled out, taped the panel shut, and ran straight to a motel. I left everything I owned behind. I never spoke to the police, because how do you explain a man living inside the walls of a house? The next day, I saw the news. The Victorian house had burned down in an accidental electrical fire. The only body found was Mr. Thorne. But the police report mentioned something unsettling. The body was found in a small utility closet by the furnace, and his face had been scrubbed clean of any distinguishing features. I know the tenant killed him and set the fire to destroy the evidence and, perhaps, cover their escape. I still have that journal, hidden away. I don't look at it. But every once in a while, I still smell that musty, dry, animalistic odor, even in my new, sterile apartment. And I remember that eye looking down at me, like I was the pest, and they were the rightful owner.
I've been a lurker here for years, and I know this sounds like a rejected Reddit no-sleep post, but I swear on my life this happened. It was Christmas Eve, 2019. I'm a wildlife photographer, and my whole family, who I love, but are a lot, decided to skip the usual chaotic holiday and rent a secluded cabin in the Adirondacks. It was me, my wife Clara, and my 2 kids, ages 7 and 5. The cabin was maybe 40 minutes off the nearest main road. Real deep woods, and the snow was already heavy. We arrived, spent a day setting up, and the unsettling stuff started right on Christmas Eve. The cabin was huge. An old hunting lodge with massive vaulted ceilings and a big stone fireplace. The owner, a guy named Frank, had left the whole place decorated. That's where the problem started. On the mantelpiece, above the fire, was a collection of about a dozen antique wooden figurines. They were all different. A hunter, a couple of elk, a woman carrying kindling. But one stood out, the caroler. It was about 18 inches tall, carved from dark, knotty wood, and dressed in a faded red felt cloak. Its face was blank, like a worn-down doll. But the thing that got me was its posture. Its head was slightly tilted, and its empty gaze was pointed straight at the front door. I didn't like it. I told Clara it was creepy. She laughed and said it was rustic. I moved it to face the wall. About an hour later, I was bringing in more wood. When I came back in, Clara was reading by the fire, and the caroler was back, facing the door. "Seriously, hun?" I said. "Stop messing with me. That thing is creepy." Clara looked up, genuinely confused. "What thing? Oh, the doll? I haven't touched it, I promise. Maybe the kids." The kids were asleep upstairs. I didn't say anything, but I picked it up. It was heavy, dense wood. I took it into the kitchen and put it on the top shelf of the pantry, behind a stack of canned goods. I told myself it was the settling of the old house or my own sleep deprivation. Christmas Eve dinner was great. By 10 p.m., the kids were out cold, and Clara and I were drinking wine by the fire. The storm outside had become a total whiteout. You couldn't see past the porch light. Then we heard it. It was faint, muffled by the howling wind, but unmistakable. It was an old-fashioned, simple carol. Silent Night, maybe. It sounded like it was coming from the porch. I looked at Clara. Her face was pale. "That's not the wind. That's singing." We both knew nobody was out there. The road was impassable. I slowly got up, grabbed the heavy iron poker, and moved to the door. Just as I reached it, the singing stopped dead. I looked through the small, iced-over peephole. Nothing but swirling snow and darkness. I backed away, adrenaline surging. "I'm checking the generator shed," I whispered. "Stay here. Lock the deadbolt behind me." I went out into the blinding snow. I ran to the small shed 30 feet from the cabin. I checked the lock. It was open. The generator was fine, humming away. But sitting on top of the generator, staring at the shed door, was the caroler. I didn't even touch it this time. I bolted back inside, slammed the door, and dropped the poker. Clara saw my face and started shaking. What was it? The doll. The caroler. It was outside, on the generator. We spent the next 2 hours huddled together, listening to the wind and the silence. Then, just after midnight, the Silent Night tune started again. But this time it was inside the cabin. It sounded mechanical, like a very old, cheap music box winding down. It was coming from the living room, near the foot of the enormous Christmas tree. I grabbed the poker again. We moved slowly. The music box sound was loud now, getting louder. When we turned the corner, the sight made my blood run cold. The caroler was sitting in the middle of the room on the bearskin rug. It was rocking slightly back and forth. But it wasn't the doll itself making the sound. It was sitting on top of an old, tarnished brass wind-up music box. The kind that plays a single, repeating melody. Silent Night. The music was loud and grating, like metal scraping against itself. The box was not one of Frank's decorations. It was a cheap, modern thing, completely out of place. Where did that box come from? Clara choked out. I don't know why, but I looked up. Above the fireplace, where the caroler had been, its original spot was now occupied by the old, wooden music box that belonged to the Petersons, the silent elderly couple from the bus in the story I read last week. Wait, no, that's not right. I shook my head to clear it. Focus, focus. I looked at the mantelpiece. Sitting where the caroler should have been was a perfectly arranged circle of the antique wooden figurines. The hunter, the elk, the woman, all facing outwards towards us. And one more thing. A new figure, a tiny, fresh carving of a child, nestled in the center. The caroler on the rug stopped rocking. The music box beneath it clicked, winding down. Then, there was a loud, distinct scraping sound from the back of the house, near the woodshed. It sounded like something large and heavy being dragged across the wooden floorboards. We didn't hesitate. We grabbed the kids from their beds. They were still asleep, somehow, threw them into the car, which thankfully started, and drove 30 miles through the blizzard until we hit the first gas station with a phone signal. We called the police. They went out the next morning after the roads cleared. They found the cabin exactly as we left it. The kitchen pantry was closed. The generator was fine. And on the front porch, right in the center of the welcome mat, they found the caroler figurine. But here's the thing that still keeps me up. The police officer called me later that week. He said Frank, the cabin owner, was confused. He confirmed that the antique figurines were his, but he swore on his life he has never owned a music box or anything that plays Silent Night. He also said there used to be a little wooden figurine missing from the mantelpiece. He didn't know what it was, only that it was gone. A few months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address, just a simple box. Inside was one thing, the tiny wooden figurine of the child that had been sitting in the center of the circle. It was cold to the touch, and on the bottom, crudely carved into the wood, were 3 words: "See you next year." I didn't keep it. I burned it. But every Christmas Eve, when the wind howls, I still listen for the faint, tinny sound of a silent night.